done for me lately? It's Coons. What have y'all done for us lately? And if there's no answer, the only thing we owe them.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Let's Talk Too. And tonight we will be having a second part of our discussion with Sister Azima, a bird that flies in the skies. What's up, Sister Azima?
Hello, everybody.
What's going on?
Everything and nothing all at the same time.
How was your week?
It's been interesting. Like I was telling you earlier, field trips are not for me. I did go on a field trip because my daughter couldn't make it, and a whole school of children went out to see Santa Claus. And wow, it was my granddaughter's in kindergarten, so I've learned a lot. I'm not as young as I thought. And I'm just glad to be home. It's peaceful. So other than that, I've been good. I'm hoping you all did what I asked, your PMI. I hope you wrote down the positive things, aspects about yourself, the minus aspects that you know that you can modify or accept. And then the interesting things, the things that trigger you to be adventurous or an entrepreneur or to look at things differently. Because I'm going to ask each of you who's on here tonight to just put it in the chat, one of your P's, one of your M's, and one of your I's.
Mm.
Now we're going to talk about how important it is to take that information and use it for 2024 and 2025. Everybody's like, oh, you give me a lot of information, but how do I apply it? And we're going to talk about that today.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I didn't write mine down, but I'll start first because I have three of them. I have a
Okay.
P, I have an M, and I have an I. So the P is for the thing that I do. Like I have a creative mind. That's what I like about myself.
Okay.
Very creative mind. I'm always thinking. Always the mind is always racing. Always
Mm-hmm.
thinking about ideas, thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I don't like maybe might be a little procrastination in there,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
it goes hand in hand with that P.
Okay. So what is interesting about that?
How I can see it. Like I said, I can create the whole scenario on my face. I can
Mm-hmm.
create it where uh, the picture's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll
Mm-hmm.
procrastinate with just starting to paint the picture.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the interesting part is because I know, like, how you know
Mm-hmm.
something will work. Like I
Mm-hmm.
know it will work. I just need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a procrastination with doing it, a procrastination with um, reaching out. Definitely if it involves other people, definitely reaching out for
Mm-hmm.
assistance in the matter.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my P and I'm very analytical. I love science. I like math. Um, I can be so enthralled in it that I can't break it down to explain to others. That's my minus. What most people don't know is that I'm very shy. I don't look like it. I don't act like it. But I am scared to death. And it takes a whole lot for me to talk in front of other people and I took speech in school just so I could overcome the fear of speaking. But before I get on that stage, I'm like, ooh, this is rough. Even with a podcast, I worry about how am I going to present this? How will this sound? What will I do? So I'm shy.
Mm.
Um, it doesn't look like it, but I'm the middle child. My siblings ahead of me didn't have time, and the siblings below me were too young. So I was kind of stuck in the middle. I, when you the and it was like being an only child, so it tends to make you shy. Because and then I've learned with that. Here's my positive. Here's my plus to that, or the interesting aspect. Shy people learn how to make friends across the board. They have no other choice. And when they want to be alone, they know how to just melt into the background and nobody will know you're there. And then they'll be like, where is so and so? I didn't see her. And then when you're ready, you spring up, like a jack out of a box. So yeah, you learn to do that. And it has been helpful. So I mean, I have contacts and friends all over the world, and I've learned to do that, and I stay in contact with them. Even if I just send them a text or an email, just to stay in contact. But yeah, I, I can be. I'm shy. If you push me hard enough, you'll see.
But one of the things, and I know you were talking about uh, going into 2025,
Hmm.
that it's a nine.
Yes, when you add those numbers up, there are only nine major attributes. Even if you start with zero, one through nine, nine is your finality. That
Mhm.
there's nothing else beyond that. Even in the new, even in numbers, although there's 11, there's 12, there's 20 something. No, it means that you have one complete set of numbers, zero through nine, and now you have two incidents. When you get to 29, you have two incidents of having numbers zero through nine. Same thing with 39. You have three incidents of having zero through nine.
Mhm.
Okay, so if you were adding those three up, you'd go 9, 18, 27. Okay, and if you add 27 together, 2 and 7, you get 9. If you have two incidents, that's 9 and 18, add 1 and 8 together, 18 together, you get 9. So all of those numbers are going to always end up 9. 9 is not, I don't want to call it finality, but it means that you have completed a particular cycle. And now it's time to elevate yourself to the second phase of that cycle, to a second phase of a cycle. And that's how your life is. And if you notice, between your seventh and ninth year, a lot of stuff happens in your life and you don't understand why is all this. It's because you've been working your way up to the finality, to move on, to transcend or transmute where you are. So when we hit 2025, we'll be in the cycle of nine. Nine means to complete a project. It also means that if you're pregnant, you're going to have a baby. It means that you're birthing new concepts and ideas. So, how does the divine feminine help you? And it's not just for women, it's for men and women. Like we said before, it teaches masculine energy how to have more compassion, have the ability to speak softly. I don't mean like a child, but you can still be firm, but have the ability to come across in a softer voice. Allowing other people the right to express how they are without always having to be the lion or the king in the room. Some of the best kings are the ones that are quiet. and observe. And when you observe, you learn a whole lot about the environment, the people, and where you need to do what you need to do. And then the best leaders are the ones who allow others to speak, because not everyone has to be rah, 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 roaring all the time. Because after a while, everyone gets tired of the gung ho person that's leading the charge, and everyone's burnt out.
Loud and wrong.
Yeah, well, yeah, sometimes.
That's what I call them, loud and you're just loud and wrong.
Right. So, what you need to do now is to go to have more. The purpose of the PMI is to allow you to see the aspects of yourself, the things that you really want to address. Um, and sometimes you can address them in a family group, um, with your girlfriends or your guy friends, or by yourself, or however you choose. You can have those moments to address it. What I find is that when you look at yourself and you are able to identify certain aspects about yourself, you'll be surprised how sometimes just acknowledging that, for me, acknowledging that I'm shy, how do I overcome that? How do I address that? And for me, it was learning to do speeches. And so, I joined
Oh, Sister Azima froze on us. First time freezing tonight. We're gonna just keep her talking. When she comes back, we just gonna keep Sister Azima talking because we don't need her to be freezing on us. Definitely freezing if I start running off of my mouth. So hopefully she'll be right back. We were actually having a great conversation before we started. But like the sister said, anybody that did their PMI, what she the assignment that she gave us last week, just let us know in the chat and discuss the things that you're gonna work on. You're gonna work on going, like she said, the next couple of weeks, and then going into the new year, as she would say, and understanding what the significance when it comes to numbers, going into that ninth, the nine, the 2025. So just let her know when she comes back, you guys. Sister Star, did you do that PMI? Say you didn't do it. I know you ain't do it. Here she goes. Hold on. Yeah.
Okay, so look at your list and pick an aspect or an attribute about yourself that you really want to know further, even if it's in the plus, that you really want to explore further. And then see, while you are exploring more about yourself.
Sister Star said it's not complete. Just
Oh,
one column. Won't you just do one column? Just do one thing that you like about yourself,
right.
one thing you think you need to work on,
Yep.
and one thing that's interesting.
Right. And if it's not complete, even if you just have, let's say you've only put your interesting things down, star, pick one of those that's very interesting. And I want you to look at how it affects you, and look at how it affects other people around you, your co-workers, family members, friends, even the general public, because you're not aware that all of these attributes vibrate to a frequency that makes you. And that's what people see. They don't see just your physical self. Before they see you, they feel the energy off of you. And they try to size you up when they see you. Oh my goodness, she's fine. Oh, he's not. Or they look weak, or they look scattered. And that's because they're reading your spiritual energy that's coming off of the physical form.
And Sister Azima, you hear a lot of people that try to describe exactly what you're saying, but they just be like, "Oh, your energy's off," or "Your energy's on," and
Hmm.
they don't really get into why that energy is on or off, or I wasn't feeling that person because their energy just is just something negative about them. And I think when you talk about the PMI and how a person feel about themselves and
Mm-hmm.
what they got going on with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
that is the energy, like you said, that's the energy that they're letting off and don't even realize it.
Right. Right.
It's like the person that got a lot of craziness going on. I know people who literally perform work
Mm-hmm.
better in what we would say controlled chaos.
Mm-hmm.
They need a whole bunch of craziness to go on to actually perform better, which I think is I don't think anybody should be able to perform well in chaos, but you do have people. I work with people that do perform well when it's a lot of chaos going on.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, like you said, with any job, sometimes you gotta write out what you gotta do. It's a
Mm-hmm.
task you gotta do. It's things that you gotta do, and
Mm-hmm.
you always hear. And I've always heard, and I don't pay it much mind because it's kind of like a fad that a lot of people say.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm not feeling your energy,
Mm-hmm.
or I'm feeling your energy. So
Mm-hmm.
now I get a kind of an idea or a better concept with you explaining the
Mm-hmm.
PMI,
Mm-hmm.
why a person's energy is on or off.
Okay, so let's break it down even further. When the doctor's listening to you, he's trying to hear vibratory sounds from the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, your respiratory system. Um, when those sounds don't resonate to a certain frequency, he'll say, you might have bronchitis. Looks like you might have pneumonia. We're going to run this little test. That's because he's hearing you. Your doctor knows you better when he or she hears you, because that's what they're hearing, and they note that on your chart. Because let's say you're anxious, you see somebody you haven't seen for a while, or you're thrown into a situation that makes you anxious in a nervous way. You're going to breathe shallow. You might not recognize it. Um, you're going to stumble over your words. Your mind has a million thoughts going through it. And those thoughts also go through the blood that runs through your veins. So as people get near you, they can pick up, oh, she's a little nervous. So they'll move over, okay? Or they'll try to comfort you in some manner. So what they're really picking up is all the internal workings of your body as it's pulsating against the surface of your skin, and it's giving off these little bits of vibration, and that's the frequency people feel. They may not see it, but they feel it from you. And when you're happy, everybody it's nothing can go wrong when you're in your state of total excitement and enjoyment, and you go anywhere and you exude that's coming off of the surface of your skin. It's
I'm
coming
gonna
out of
show
your
you. I'm gonna
voice.
show you something.
Okay.
I want to see if I can pull it up, you guys.
So when that's happening, that's why more people gravitate to you when you're very happy. It's because they themselves are in low vibration and they need your vibration to help them.
Can
So
you see that behind me?
yes, I do.
You
Yeah.
guys in the chat, could you guys see that behind me? Hold on.
Hmm.
1 second.
Hmm.
Like Sister Azima said, let me just move out the way for a second again, right? All right. I'm gonna get
Yeah.
rid of it now. Hold on.
Okay. So what's
I'm gonna,
happening? What I would
I'm gonna
really
explain
like.
what it means.
Okay.
It's Sister Azima, when you were explaining about the doctors listen to your heart,
Hmm. Hmm.
what that symbol means, for those in the chat, is what you call a lub dub.
Hmm.
That is how my heart beats. Um,
Hmm.
my wife had her stethoscope one day,
Hmm.
and she was listening to my heart, and she knew the heartbeat. So
Hmm.
it goes to our heart and how we breathe, like you said, the vibration tells the doctor what's going on. And it's a certain things that they do. Like they could, your pulse, like you said, your pulse, this is the vibration from your pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's how you could kind of detect what's going on with the individual.
Right. So all of those, remember now, you are a magnificent biological machine. That's what you are. And you give off these subtle pulses. Before we became indoctrinated with capitalism or secular beliefs, we were spiritual energies, spiritual beings. If you ever notice birds when they're flying in the sky, they're going to fly towards magnetic north if they are north. Birds in the south will fly towards magnetic south. Okay, so migration is based on the magnetic fields. What most of us don't realize is that we're really going through a pole shift. And people will be like, "Oh, the planet is stop! It'll fall off." You do it. It doesn't. It's been doing this for millions of years. Okay. So what it does is that, and you'll notice it, but you don't recognize it. You're going outside and the sun is setting. You're like, man, why is the sun? Didn't it used to set right there? And now it's over here. Well, that's because we're moving through a pole shift. So as the poles are shifting, okay, as north is moving towards south and south is moving towards north, and it's not an uncommon thing, you will notice that your sun seems like it's setting or rising in a different place. And that's only because it's shifting. There was a time when we were so in tune with that that we would do, and I hate to say rituals, but we would do certain rituals or routines all the time when we were going through these shifts, these
Well, you got
poles.
people now talking about they doing retrograde.
Okay, okay. So let me tell you, everybody thinks retrograde means to go in reverse. No, retrograde means to go within. That's all. Retrograde means instead of you being out here doing all of this, you're going to take it inside and you're going to better understand what you are about and how you can help other people. Okay. I'll give you an example. In my women's group, there's a young lady there. She started her nonprofit. She's had it for about 2 years. She's done some fundraising, but she needs a little more money, and I'm going to assist her in the best way that I can. What she had decided was that she wanted to provide a service to a particular sector of the public. She likes working with youth, and she wanted to provide something for these youth, a particular group of youth. And so we sat down and we talked, and I was telling her, "You're getting ready to go into your transition. When you hit this number 9, everything that you've been working on, the doors will open for you. The opportunities will be abundant. This is where you're going to learn how to collaborate with people at a state level, at a local level, at a national level to make your project go." Um, so I said that to say, when you are learning your PMI and you're going through it and you're picking any aspect about yourself, whether you've completed it or not, whatever you have on your paper, or if you have nothing on your paper, think of something, put it on the paper and say, I can do this. And you can. Okay. It's only a minus when you constantly overlook it. Okay. I don't know if you ever heard the adage, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is a form of insanity. Things that are minus to you is because you have overlooked them on purpose. I don't want to deal with that. Not now. Let me put it over here. It's too hard for me to address. We all have them. I have them too. And there are things that I have to address that I need to work on. But sometimes just recognizing the fact that there's something out there that you need to address allows your mind and your spirit to rest so that when it is time for you to address it, maybe in your next life, you are better prepared to do what's necessary to address it. Okay, you will tell yourself, I need to come back as this in this light in order to address this and remove emotions, but have compassion. Okay. And so it's learning to, it's really a method of learning yourself and loving yourself. A lot of times we're very hard on ourselves and we don't give our time, we don't give ourselves an opportunity to heal, to say, yeah, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. I might not be able to um, fix it. I recognize it, and I'm asking you to accept my apology. You are being sincere, and this allows us to move forward.
You think? Do you think like having that balance of being patient and how it leads to the procrastination? Oh, I'm being patient with these matters. Okay, I'm patient. I'm waiting. I'll know in this time. And then, like, hold up. 90 days went by. 120 days went by. A year went by. I
Okay,
thought I was being patient, but in all actuality, it made me go back into that M category, into the to the procrastination.
hmm, well, there is, how can I put this? I hear my children say, you're very patient, but not really. What I do is that what we learned in science is that if you really want your experiment or you want to change an outcome, you're going to have to change one of the predictors. So, what patience does is that it allows you to experiment with all the predictors, and then you build a box or a triangle or a rhombus. What you're doing is that
Wow. She froze again. You guys. Get Sister Azima to stop freezing, right? She'll be back. Remember to like, share, subscribe, you guys. She'll be back. Hold on. Hold on. We're going to take a break real quick.
I went totally down. So, I had to reboot. Okay, so when you see these dominoes that these people so patiently set up and they hit one and they all lie down and it leaves a pattern. That's what your patience does. It allows you to set up the circumstances or the situation so that when the dominoes start, you're going to know what the outcome is. And you know that because you get those nagging moments. It'll come back to you in a dream or something on your job. These little things that you've been overlooking, they reappear because it's telling you either acknowledge that I'm here or it's time for you to address it. That's not procrastination. Okay, Quentin, that's fear. And fear really stops us. Fear is not knowing the outcome. It's
Mm,
unknown. That's what fear is. Fear is the unknown. Okay. A brave man is a man that understands um, the consequences. He doesn't have fear because why? That person knows their self and they know their limit and what they can and cannot do. Okay. And when people tell them, like my daughters tell me, Mom, you're very kind. You like to help. I do. I really like to help people, but I help them only to a certain extent where they have the ability to go, wow, I didn't look at that. Therefore, when they do look at it, it gives them options to um, begin to address other issues. Okay, it gives them options to really look at what it is they were running away from. And it also gives you an opportunity to see that you can think through problems. And if you don't have the answer, you can get answers from what you research on the internet, and you'll know when it's right because it will speak to you in a manner that only you will understand. And you'll be like, oh, that's crazy. I can't go there. I won't deal with that because it does not address what you're looking for. Or a person will come into your life. It could be a stranger, and they will give you the answer forthwith just in a conversation. And you're like, wow, I never thought of it like that. I can move on that now. I've got some options. And so um, procrastination is kind of like insanity. I want it out. I want to change the outcome. I just don't want to do the work. Okay. Um, when you're overlooking it all the time, that's fear. When it keeps coming back to you, that's your fear. And so what you do is that you say, like an elephant, I'm going to address this one step at a time. Okay. How do you address anything? You start with the part that is most achievable. I can smile. I can say a kind word. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to look unpleasant. Those are the simple things. And then you graduate to what we consider the more complex. But it doesn't become complex because you've already dealt with everything from 1 to 8. So 9 is a natural progression to where you want to be. And what we know for a fact is that success is literally 98% preparation and 1% opportunity. So when issues keep occurring, it's your opportunity because you've already prepared 99% of it to get it done. You don't have people saying, "Hey, that's your opportunity. The door is open. Take it." And that's because you are afraid of being successful. Okay? And there's nothing like it. And it becomes very real. The first time I ever wrote a grant, I was like, oh, this is not going to work. I was all against it. And then I sat down and worked with some other people. We worked and got a grant for $10 million for 5 years. And what I learned was that I already had 99% of it done. It was, I was afraid to walk through the door
mm.
to be successful. And once I
Wow.
walked through the door to be successful, that's when the work really began. I had to meet with everybody. We had to make sure we were doing this. We met all the deadlines. We did our benchmarks. And I was too busy working the grant that I didn't realize 5 years had passed. Okay. And we achieved, I didn't achieve everything, but we achieved 80 to 85% of what we said in the grant. That was remarkable because most people only get 50%. So we had, really stepped up our achievement. We had worked, we brought in what we now know, Educare. It wasn't Educare then. It was just preschool or parents as teachers. We started teaching parents how to teach their children. It was a lot of things that we did. I had a community center. We had CDL licensing there. We had managed care, which taught you CNN and LPN license. And I mean, you were licensed by the state of Missouri, and you could work in any hospital or um, care facility for senior citizens. You graduated. You had that piece of paper said you were good for this. Well, there were a lot of things that we did. We worked with Camp Wyman. We worked with a myriad of people. We had free medical care for the children that attended the. I had a trifecta of schools I was dealing with, so those kids got free medical care, even though they may have had Medicaid. There were still things that they couldn't get through Medicaid, and we were offering that as free health care. We even had free health care for adults. I had police officers on bicycles, and the kids had a whole different perspective of police officers. We had officers that walked the beat. Crime went down. Even the police chief came and said, crime in this area has really gone down. It's a great idea. I mean, he was a little sad because, they do make their money like doctors. Doctors prescribe medicine. They earn a little more money. Police get you arrested. That they can say
Y'all
statistically.
messing with that people. Y'all messing with that budget.
So, and then we began to teach the children how to look at themselves differently. Okay, that's imperative. How in the world do you get to look at yourself differently and not look at yourself as a victim? And I always told the children, your condition is not your circumstance. We're all born poor. It's what we do with our life. You have to have poor sections of the city, counties, everywhere in the state, because nobody is born, well, not nobody. There are people who are born wealthy. And then a lot of us are just born by luck. And I don't want to say by luck, but we're not born with the gift of assets. So we learn. We start at the bottom and we work our way up. What you don't want is a parent who is so rooted in being a victim, they victimize their children, and that's all they can ever be is a victim, a person of crime, a person of drugs, a person of prostitution, a person of theft. And then it's always woe is me. And of course, being melanated skinned people, you just make the headline all the time. And that looks crazy. And I I purposely used to teach them about the roles we had, not just here in America, but all over the world. I mean, melanated skinned people were the first people on this planet. So let's be real. We built pyramids. We built them everywhere. We built the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We were the original Greeks. We were the original Romans. Europe is named for Europa. She's a black woman. The Tartars, the blackest folks on the planet, sailed the ocean. We had all kinds of ships, and we sailed everywhere. So when you start teaching that and children can see themselves, then parents begin to see themselves like that. We would even have programs for parents. We'd have the children literally act out because the parents would come. I had to feed them, but they would come and they began to learn something they didn't know. So as you learn about yourself, it's wonderful. It's exciting. I'm not going to say it's going to always be happy, but it is an opportunity for you to really know you. The more you know you, the better it is for you to sit down and be quiet. You don't have to be the tack on the block. Okay. You don't always have to. That inner peace is so amazing. Good evening, brown girl. How are you doing? That inner peace is just amazing. You will be surprised at the things that you can accomplish when you are at inner peace. So, your goal for 2025 is one, to know yourself. That brings you to your level of transmutation. You have completed 1 through 8. You know enough about yourself to say, oh, I'm not going to deal with that, or oh, I might trip on that, or that's not me at all, or this is me. And all you have to do now is step through that door and assist someone else that's similar to you to make their transmutation, to
Mm.
transcend to their next level. Because as we transcend to the next level, we don't have to worry about war, because what we think, what we state, remember, everything that comes out of my mouth vibrates to a frequency that you hear. And if I talk mad and bad to you, that's all you'll know. And it'll make you angry. Whether you realize it or not, a lot of rap music is geared to set your frequency at 440. You think it's great, but your natural frequency is 442 or 438 or 452. It's always doubling itself. So if you double 7.83, the next thing you know, you're hitting that 54, but America created an organization or an association that changed the frequency of music by 8 decimal points, always ending in a zero. And that is not good for you. Okay. Zero means all encompassing, but the frequency that it's ending in leaves a jagged tooth or an unresolved feeling. That's what they do when they have horror movies. They take that frequency and they bring it to that 440, 330, 880. And the next thing you know, you're like, ooh, that bothers me. And there's a reason for that, because as long as they can keep you afraid, you will not move forward in being the best you can be. So we have to move forward. That's the purpose of 9. It's allowing us to reach our transmutation. And as we transmute, as we change the people around us. We change the
When when
energy around
when
us.
you
Go
talk about I don't think most people really understand what you meant by the frequency. I'm somebody that used to listen to AM radio. I basically grew up on AM radio.
Okay.
And when and you got to get the frequency, you got to turn it down the dial.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's as simplistic as you just said.
Mhm.
Explain what they did, the American Broadcasting System, what they did when they changed the frequency. What frequency were basically the world on prior to America doing something to the system?
Okay. I don't know if I can still say. I don't know if there were the Temptations and um, Diana Ross. Whitney Houston sings a cappella. She sings in frequency with the earth. Her songs would move you to either joy,
Oh man, froze at the worst time, right? It froze at the worst time. We're gonna hold Sister Azima to that thought when she come back, you guys. Anybody ever heard what she said that Whitney Houston sings at a high frequency? Whitney Houston, I think the highest decimal. Um, some people say that Whitney Houston could break the glass by hitting that note. I don't know if you guys ever heard that before. I don't know how true it is, but that was rumors that she could hit the note to break the glass. Wait for Sister Azima to come back. Hold on. She'll be back in 1 second.
Okay. So I was saying about Whitney Houston. When she was singing the movie, she was in the movie The Bodyguard, and she had that song about when I love you. I don't know the
I
title.
always love you.
Right. When she sang that song, it was very moving. It allowed you to absolutely feel what she was feeling. That's her vibratory energy singing to you, and you felt it. Okay.
Yeah, I know at one point there it was rumors saying that Whitney Houston actually could break the glass. She could hit that decimal where she hits the note.
Well, it
She
has
can.
certain glass, not all glass will
Yeah,
break right at every note. Okay, but yeah, but yeah, she did. She was that person that was either live or Memorex. Do you remember that commercial?
yeah.
Okay. So, but she could move you. There was a commercial that I was growing up and it was called Kodak. Um, and that's when we still had box cameras and put film in it. Y'all don't do that. You got the cell
That's a
phone.
Polaroid. We they still make Polaroids. I saw
Okay,
that one.
okay,
You
but
know,
they
I
may
have
not
a I
remember
have
that.
I have electronic addiction
Okay,
really
so
bad.
I have an old style camera,
Yeah,
but there was a commercial where there was a man and he had this little baby. He was holding in the arm, and the message was turn around. Turn around. She's a baby. Turn around. She's two. Now she's two. Turn around. She's in school. Now she's in middle school. Turn around. She's graduating. She's coming out of college. Turn around, and she's married. And the words were, and she's living the life you taught her to be on her own. I thought those were words to capture. Okay, to see that commercial, it would move you to tears because they did it with an Asian man, a white man, a Native American man, and a black man. But the message was still the same. That's the frequency that people put out. And there was a time we would put out these frequencies, which allowed us to hone our communities and keep them intact. We had close neighbors and neighbors that you didn't get along with. The two of you learned how to build a fence so you didn't have to be bothered with one another. We don't have that. You may have a community across the globe, but your relationship with them is always digital. Oh yeah, we still make Polaroid. That's what he said. They still make
yeah.
Polaroid.
You go on Walmart. They got a special Polaroid camera. I actually bought one
Okay.
2 years ago for somebody. They real for the younger people. They still have like kid Polaroid cameras.
Okay. So when your when your community changes from the neighborhood to the city to the state to a region to the world, your interaction is different, which means that you've lost an aspect of you. And so 2025 is allowing us to come back to that. Retrograde means now is the time for me to go within, to shine my light. This little light of mine, I'm going to shine. You're going to shine that light within you so that
No,
you
really, I don't heard retrograde about 100 times in 2024. I said, damn, I heard it 100 times in 2024, but
and
I
you're
didn't
going to
hear
hear
it.
it a lot. And what it is that the planets, and see, that's the whole purpose of the horoscope, is to tell you how the planets line up. When the planets line up, please don't think it's just going to impact your relationship. What it does is that it's telling you how certain parts of this planet are going to be affected. Okay, what the winters are going to be like. The farmers rely on this. So when these planets line up in retrograde, which means that they're not going to be the dominant energy coming off of the planet. Like sometimes a planet moves into a position and it's Mars, it's the dominant energy. Everybody's mad at folks. We're
What's the
talking
Sister
you
Isaiah,
know,
what's the animal they use to come out the ground to tell if it's gonna be a cold winter?
oh, they're talking about the isn't it the beaver?
Yes,
No,
the beaver. The-
right.
Yes, the beaver. But the funniest thing is uh, uh, in this region of the
Mhm.
country, They
Mm-hmm.
actually use the beaver that comes out of the ground in Pennsylvania.
Well,
And what's funny, the groundhog. Excuse me,
oh, I'm
Star.
sorry, groundhog. So
Groundhog.
did it help you know if you're going to
And
have 6 more weeks of
but
bad weather?
believe it or not, the groundhog. I'm not saying it be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but the groundhog do not be right all the time because the groundhog said something. I think 2 years ago, and it was totally wrong. And
That's
and
right,
and people literally, like you said, determined because I live around. You travel 5 miles. 5 miles to get you into farmland,
right,
and you really see how the people that run those farms they know what be going on
right.
with
They
the
do.
weather and the earth and
Mhm.
like for a certain time. And I know that you could remember this sweet corn.
Yes, real
Sometimes
corn,
the corn is real.
real corn.
Yeah,
No GMO corn, real corn. Okay.
yeah. So in certain areas up here, certain farms, their corn. When they say sweet corn,
Mm-hmm.
you'll think that they added sugar to the corn, and it's crazy because they couldn't add sugar to the corn because they sell it to you whole.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
if you didn't know, these
Mm-hmm.
people that's into that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the the weather and understanding how the earth is gonna push them plants out
Mm-hmm.
is very profitable business around here.
Okay, so like now in 2025, you probably need to put an Alka-Seltzer tablet in your ground because your grounds are so bad. If you're planting tomatoes, they're going to rot on the bottom. So the
Okay.
Alka-Seltzer allows the ground, it creates that bicarbonate that you need. The same as putting baking soda in the ground. The bicarbonate in the ground allows the other nutrients to come through it. It's going to create nitrogen, certain types of oxygen, and that helps the plant. The farmers understood that because they were in tune with the planet and they would plant their crops. They would rotate their crops so that they would not deplete all of the nutrients out of the ground. I grew up in a small rural community and I always considered farmers the original scientists. Yes, Miss Starr, they are. They are. They're your alchemists. They have to be. Before medicine came along, you had the farmers. And you laugh, and I think about something. Coca-Cola, a lot of people drink that. It was made from the coca leaves. People don't know that. Okay. So,
Let me ask you this I don't want to oh, I don't forgot my thought. I forgot what I was about to ask you, Sister
okay.
Azima.
It was about the coca leaves.
No, it was prior to that. Something that when I put Sister Star comment up there.
You said they were the true scientists.
Yeah, I remember. I remember.
So yeah, we have gotten out of tune because we have
That's what
become
it was.
yeah, yeah.
when when did you see a shift in our people with farming? Like like I was talking when we was talking earlier. I grew up in the city in North Jersey, and people don't farm. Now I can remember my grandparents. Now my grandparents really from Georgia. Then they went to Chicago for a minute, and then they went to New Jersey. I remember my grandmother had a small garden
Hmm.
in the backyard. But when did you see where people was moving to these major cities and just gave up that skill because everybody knew how to grow their own vegetables and fruits? When did you see that shift?
When they decide to have industrialized railroads, and the railroads were cutting through, and it made it easier for the small farmer to sell his crops in a big city. But by selling his crops in the big city, he changed the dynamics of the children. his children no longer had to be on the farm. He wanted them to go to school to be a doctor or a mechanic or anything like that. And that had to be in the city. And so when they were pushing their children towards the city, the children were educating them, the system was educating them away from the land. The minute they were able to educate them away from the land, they allowed the big companies, Hershey, especially after the tobacco industry. I'm gonna say after the tobacco debacle, where people were dying of cancer, and they went in there, Marlboro, Phillips, and all of them. They were bought up by Liquid Myers, and the minute they bought them out, and they paid all these people money because they died from the cigarette smoke. Um, Not the tobacco, the fact that they were lacing it with certain types of chemicals from the overproduction of gasoline left a byproduct. I'm going to call it sludge. But out of that, you got polyester, all these different types of products, synthetic products, where they made polyester clothing, which was horrible for the body. They made nylons from this product as well. And they realized that they could start making a product. Monsanto started making Roundup. Oh my God, it was a nightmare through the 70s and 80s. By sending your children into the school system so that they could do better, that's what parents do. You want your children to do better. So you need a doctor, a medical doctor. Maybe you should have had a vet, and that
Mhm.
doctor could have come back and worked on the farm. And the farm communities could have gotten better. They were not big conglomerates like you see now. They were small farmers. You may have had a dozen cows. You didn't get them pregnant every year, keep them pregnant with hormones like they do now. Um, the cows mated naturally with the bulls, and you may have 2 or 3 calves a year. Okay, you'd only milk her maybe 5 or 7 years of her life instead of 10 to 15 years of the cow's life. You would sell the cow and the calf together to another farmer who's starting. So when you lost that, they had to sell their farms because they didn't have the money to buy the machinery to do the work that 10 people were doing. And it was now down to 2 because they thought their children needed a better opportunity.
Mm.
So, with that, and the fact that the petrochemical industry really took off, they thought they should have their hand in anything: plastic glasses, plastic clothing, stockings, plastic gloves, plastic water bottles, plastic everything. Okay, plastic dishes. Never had plastic dishes until the 70s and 80s. Prior to that time, you had tempered glass, which meant they threw ash in there and they fired it up, and the
I used to
glass.
work in a I used to do that.
Right.
I know how to temper glass in the
Oh,
oven.
so our windows in your house was tempered glass.
Yeah.
Now it's this plastic flex glass stuff, and it's a nightmare. You cut it wrong, it's lopsided. You can't go back and fix it. You could heat glass and meld it back together. What you gonna heat this plastic and get that funny line through it all the time? It's just, once the petrochemical people, and then then came along the OPEC industry. Oh my God. And we're buying oil from overseas, and we're doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
So
And
it was more of a financial boom.
yes, it became capitalism. What happened was that here we had reached a point where we were not in major war. So you had to find some other reason to have war. So what
Mm.
do? You create the petrodollar. The American dollar was tied to the petrol industry. You began to sell your fuel everywhere, and then you're selling your
Oh, Sister Azima froze again, you guys. I know I took the conversation a little bit left, but I wanted to ask her that because sometimes we need to know what happened. Even though I remember the change, the late '70s, early '80s, where capitalism and the boom really took off, and then in our country, we went from the industrial age to the technology age. So hopefully she'll join us right back. Yeah, yeah, Professor Dre. I don't know why you didn't get the alert. I haven't been doing much, and hopefully I'll get back to content. I know it's a lot going on, a lot of stuff to talk about, but I've been kind of trying to formulate some stuff in a good way. But hopefully, Sister Azima join us right back. There she goes.
So when we saw those things, a combination of things, once the petrodollar began to make a lot of money, people like the Rockefellers, people like the Rothschilds, even the Kennedys, folks that owned the rail industry at the very top, they were making top dollar. And that became the impetus to expand the Internal Revenue Service, or rather the Federal Reserve Bank. We went from coining, we never printed money. We went from coining our money to allowing them to print money. And that's a whole nother in all unto itself. But what we need now is for us to be back in touch with ourselves. We And that's the movement. It's not just you. Look at the world. The whole world is like, man, we lost our way. We gave you 60 years and we lost our way.
It does feel, and you see some of the signs. It does feel that way where we're slowing down. The people are saying, "Hold up, we've been living a little too fast, a little
Hmm.
too crazy.
Right.
Let's slow down and let's reset it back to how it used to be." Um, Prior to going live, we were basically talking about a legacy family,
Hmm.
and you were talking about how I asked you were they beloved in your area, and it's
Hmm.
like, okay, they may not own as much as they had, but
Hmm.
they're like you always say, they're rich because people love them, they took care of people,
Hmm.
and it's like we're going to a point now where, like I said, the elite are in trouble, for lack of better words.
Right. And I want to say that for a moment, let me digress for a moment. Um, my family has a unique name, Kennedy. The funny part is that my husband's name was Holt. My mother's maiden name was Johnson. These are people that were vice presidents and secretaries of states with other presidents. Lincoln had a Kennedy in his time period. Okay, Kennedy had a Holt in his cabinet, and we laugh about that. And you need to look and research the power of your name. Letters in a name create power. And if you don't believe me, I want you to, on a separate sheet of paper, I want you to write down the numbers, put some space between them. I want you to write them across the top, 1 through 9. Then I want you to write the alphabet under. The ninth number, the ninth letter should be an I. And then you'll be J, and you go through until you get to Z. And when you write your name out, you're going to put these numbers up under the letters in your name. When you add them up, they're going to gravitate to certain things. They're going to either gravitate to a 4 or a 6 or a 7. And you're going to look up the numerology life path and see what your life path is. And it will tell you. You have no other choice but to live that life path.
Brown Girl Boston, that's Professor Drea,
Okay.
Sister Azima. She does numbers.
Okay. So that is very true. And even when you are reincarnated, You may have a new name, but the numbers are still going to gravitate to your life path, the same life path you had before, because it's not finished and you have work to do. Your work is forever, it's eternal. And you're going to always be able to do that work, whether it's in this lifetime or a different lifetime, or even in a new dimensional plane. That's still you. And you're going to work with those numbers and you're going to live your life path. So you might as well know what it is. Learn as much as you can about yourself and enjoy that aspect of you. Okay? Because it's you. It's not me. It's you. It's not Brother Quentin. It will be you. And it really allows you the opportunity to truly express who you really are. So when you're going into your 2025 and you're looking at your life path and you're looking at the PMI list that you have, it's pretty much telling you how you're vibrating. And while you're vibrating, you are now going to tell yourself you're only going to want the people who reflect how you are now in your life. And then as you grow and mature, you're going to have other people that reflect your growth and your transformation in your life. And what this does is that it allows you to help them. They help you. You help others. You have that circle, that 6 degree circle. And why do I say 6 degrees? Because 6 people can hear the same thing the same way. The seventh person hears something entirely different. And when they come into the circle, it creates chaos because you're going, I didn't say that. But that's how they interpret what you said. So, no, I mean, seriously, that's how they interpret what you said. And so it creates chaos. But 6 of you will hear the same thing. You will hear, I said, the water's dropping. 6 of you are going to say, the water's dropping. Number 7 is going to say, and the cow went over the moon. And you're like, what? What? What does that have to do with anything? And that's because in their mind, when water's dropping, things are jumping over. And that makes sense. Most people don't want to walk in the water, especially a puddle of water. They try to jump over it. So in their mind, logically thinking, we're going to jump over the water.
Yeah.
But all of us are just saying the water's just dropping. Okay. And that's where you get chaos or confusion, because that seventh person interprets what's being said and then tells you the interpretation instead of repeating what was being said.
Mm.
So this opportunity in 2025, you're going to be expanding yourself because you're going to go inward. That's what retrograde means, to go within. When planets are in retrograde, it means that the dominant aspect of it, it's not radiating out the dominant aspect of itself. It is now pulling from where it's radiating energy back into it so that it can continue its cycle. And that's what you're doing. You've given out everything you got. So now it's time for you to rein it in. Take a deep breath, jump in that hot tub of water or a hot shower and relegate and wash away your outward shell so that the inner aspect of you has the ability to heal, to grow and expand, to work with others and have others work with you, to express love in a myriad of ways. Love isn't just holding you and grabbing you and saying, I love you. You'll be surprised how powerful your energy is when you are your most quiet.
Mm.
Have you ever been in a room with 2 people and they're just sitting there holding hands? Or they may both be reading a book, but you can feel the energy in that room between them.
And you better not come and disturb it.
Right. So that's the power of your vibratory self. You don't realize it. You know why? Because it's overshadowed by lights at night, noise in the day, the television, your phone, your children, co-workers, the dogs, everything overshadows who you are. So you put all of that on the back burner and you never give yourself permission to do anything. Remember when I told you, I said sometimes you need to tell your children very young, mommy needs 30 minutes, daddy needs 30 minutes. Children cannot believe me, they do understand. They'll get it. They're not going to give you 30 minutes in the beginning, but you can work up to it. And what happens is that they will automatically, mommy coming home, they'll run up to you, mommy, mommy, daddy's here, run, daddy, daddy, daddy. They're going to do what they're going to do. And they're going, I'm going to go play for 30 minutes. And they'll go and play. And that would be your time to decompress. You had a bad day at work, co-worker upset you, a family member got in, just go in there and go like, whatever you need to do. And you're going to release that. And you will be amazed how you release it. Because you're breathing out. Every time you breathe out, every time you exhale, you're saying, I'm releasing the things that make me angry, the things that interrupt my life. Please write this down. I am releasing the things that make me angry, the things that interrupt my life, the things that I have allowed to cause me anxiety. I am
Mm,
releasing that.
mm,
And as you're breathing out, you are releasing it. As you breathe in, you're telling yourself, I am at peace. I am at love with myself. I am at harmony with my family and things around me. Now, when you're exhaling it, you are releasing. When you're inhaling, you're taking in love and the things around you in harmony. Okay. In about 30 days, you'll be amazed. What's going to happen is usually within 30 to 45 days, the same situation that you've been dealing with is going to rear its head again. And instead of you handling it like you normally do, you have now told yourself you have tools because you're saying, I'm breathing in heart, I'm breathing in love, I'm breathing in resolutions, and when it comes to you, you're going to hit your crossroad. And I'm telling you, that crossroad will be like, ooh, I can just whatever. And it's going to flash through your mind or your thought for a tenth of a second, honestly. And then it's going to go right to, oh, I can handle this. I know exactly what to do. And you're going to go to exactly what to do because you have now rewritten an aspect of your frequency to handle them because they're giving off a frequency that irritates you, that creates chaos in your life. And now you realize that doesn't bother me. It doesn't create disdain. It doesn't create discomfort. It doesn't create chaos because you've told yourself you're breathing in harmony, you're breathing in love, you're giving yourself permission for that. And you have to give yourself permission. Far too often we walk around angry. Do you know why it says in every secular religion that you need to forgive your enemy? And I know they're thinking, why would I want to do that? It's not for the enemy, it's for you. Because as you release, you're giving yourself permission to say, it's okay that I didn't win that battle, okay, but I won the war. And the war was me being out of sync, out of harmony. Now I'm in sync, I'm in harmony, and they can't come and bother me anymore. And it tells you that circumstances occur, but it is not your lifelong condition. The
interesting.
only thing in life that's different is change. Change is the constant. But change brings growth, development, new opportunities. And like they say, there is nothing new under the sun. It's just the way it's repackaged.
Wow. Wow. So maybe we'll, you know what? Maybe we'll try to revisit this in 30 days and we'll see how things are going. And you never know. You
We
never
need
know.
to see how everybody's doing in 30.
Yeah, yeah. 30 days. We're gonna get see 30 days. We'll revisit it. Had this refresher conversation, and we'll definitely talk about it and talk about the PMI,
Yeah.
and anybody in the chat that has worked on the PMI, continue to work on the PMI. Suggest to others to work on the PMI.
And I really want to hear back from a lot of the men. 'Cause
Mm.
you all carry a boatload of emotions within you, but you don't express them, even to yourself. You don't express them outwardly, and you don't express them to yourself. And if you think that being a man means you don't cry, that is not true at all.
Is that an acquired condition? And I say that I
Yeah.
know you're not a man, but
Mhm.
is
That
that
is
a
acquired. That's yeah.
oh my gosh, she froze. She froze at the worst time again. Yes, Sister Star, we're gonna revisit this definitely in about 30 days and really discuss it and get into it. Talk about the PMI and suggest we all tell our families and people we close to about the PMI and get them to do it and just do it like as a issue of research and study and not only just for ourselves but studying other people around you because I think that a lot of people, like I said earlier, uh, when I said something to Sister Azima about, you know, a lot of times when we think people's energy is off, or we think people's energy is they got good energy. I like being around them. They got good vibes. That's because 9 out of 10 their PMI, they're able to identify the things that they don't like about themselves, and they continue to work on them and uh, and in other words, like you be around somebody and they be having a bunch of chaos going on. Their PMI is telling you something.
Yeah. So yes, that is a condition, and it's a condition even for female warriors. Female warriors don't have children. Their body produces an equivalent to masculine testosterone. They're very analytical. They are they're electrified. Electricity doesn't say I'm going to burn you. Okay, magnetism will say, look here, don't put certain things with me. You know, don't put magnesium next to a magnet or near water. You're going to have a bomb. Okay. Um, Electric energy is can't wait. Okay, electric energy allows uh, allows you to get things done. It's focused and it's directed, and that's fine. When men are able to release a lot of their anxiety, and they don't, and it doesn't lead to disruptive marriages or relationships. Uh, it doesn't lead to those things. It leads to a very healthy, balanced place to be. It doesn't mean that you're going to be, ooh, don't touch me. It never leads to that. It leads them to the ability to be at their peak performance. You know, they are your heroes. They're our heroes. I'll be honest, I would never I thank every man and woman that went to war on my behalf. I
Mm.
thank them, from slavery till now.
Funny you said that. I just had a very interesting conversation about the veterans. We were talking about they were talking about the next administration might cut the budget, and I was having a conversation about it, and then I live close to a VA, and he was
Who said,
telling
I'm sorry, who said that they were going to cut the
that's
budget?
what some of the rumors were, but
Right.
the guy I was talking to. He's a Vietnam vet, and we were talking,
Hmm.
and he was telling me a lot of times with the vets, they just don't know about they don't know about the resources. We were talking about resources for the vets and understanding that the homeless and the suicide. We were just having a nice conversation about our veterans.
Yeah, it's terrible. And we've had 60 years of one party in there and has done nothing for the Veteran Administration. I know my cousin came back from Vietnam. He had a beautiful home. He was a multimillionaire. That's how his family left him. And he lived on the streets. He could not live in a house. He couldn't function. He couldn't think. He committed suicide. And that was under the current administration, not this president, but this party. They started cutting.
What is it? One suicide every 12 seconds?
Yes. Yeah. And he was only 49.
Wow. Wow.
So, and my first husband, same thing. It's, I watched how 18-year-old black men, 18-year-old white men, 18-year-old Indian guys, indigenous people, they came back so different. War absolutely changes you. And they're not given an opportunity to talk about it. World War One, World War Two, any war. America is only, what, 500 years old?
We've been at war since the beginning.
We've had 472 wars. So, the French American War, the English War, oh my God, we had Spanish American War. Come on. How many wars do we have to have?
Well, Sister Azima,
It's a
appreciate you
pleasure.
for
Yeah.
joining us, and we're gonna revisit this conversation. I know it was part two. I don't know if
Mhm.
we'll title that part three, but we're gonna revisit this conversation just to get
An
as they
update.
say, a
Mhm.
temperature check.
Yeah, that's what I want. I really would like to see it from everybody. And I'd like to see more men make comments because it's imperative. We need to know how you think, how you feel.
All right. I'll
Yeah,
work on trying to. I'll work on trying to get some men. Maybe I'll get some men to come on the panel and you could talk to them.
sure. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
But I always enjoy talking to everybody. Thank you. And I
That
really
sounds like
hope
a plan.
we can learn a lot from this. Okay?
Yes, definitely. With that, everybody have a safe night, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Bye bye.